Maybe they took Frankie to the hospital, Arthur said. Billy spotted a kid he knew, Mousie McDavitt. Did you see it? He asked him. No, Mousie said. I got here right after the cops. Frankie was driving that car over there, and he bashed his head on the windshield, and they took Tiny Springer to the hospital. I think he might have broke his neck or something. Jesus, Billy said. Where's Frankie? Mousie grinned and pointed to a police cruiser. Over there, he said. You should have seen it. It took 3 cops to handcuff him and get him in there. He was kicking, biting, yelling, and swearing at him. He said if they hurt his pig, he was going to kill their babies. He didn't stop yelling until that fat cop over there sat on him. The police had cordoned off the area, and Billy could only get to 30 feet of the cruiser, but it was close enough for him to see Frankie in the back seat. He had a towel wrapped around his head, and Harry II was squealing like crazy and rocking the Buick back and forth so violently the cops were afraid to approach him. Billy heard Sergeant Sweeney discussing the situation with Police Chief Swardell, who had just arrived. What's the story, Sweeney? Well, one of the kids, the driver, is Frankie Kendall. He's 12. His old man is Wallace Kendall, a boozer. We had him locked up for a while back for scaring the hell out of the Squire's woman over on Oak Street. Yeah, I know Kendall, the chief said. What else? The other kid's name is Springer. He's 11, from Orange Street. I know his mother. She's a good woman. Her husband passed away several years ago, and she's raising 6 kids all by her lonesome. It looks like he's got a broken arm, so we shipped him off to the hospital. The Kendall kid hit the steering wheel and got a bang in the head, but it ain't serious. He fought like hell when we cuffed him. Me and Miller, we got him calmed down. And, oh, yeah, he said, lowering his voice. They both had booze in their breath. Chief Swardell frowned and looked toward the cruiser where Frankie was. What did the Kendall kid have to say for himself? You ain't going to believe this, Chief, Sergeant Sweeney said, suppressing a smile. Try me. Well, after Miller crossed his heart and promised we wouldn't hurt his pig, the Kendall kid told us that the pig's name was Harry, and him and the skinny kid were taking it out to California because the pig's life was in danger. You're kidding, Chief Swardell said. Nope, I told you wouldn't believe it. The fire guys have been racking their brains, and for the life of them, they can't figure out how them damn kids got the porker in there in the first place. They figure he must weigh 400 or 500 pounds. I don't know how we're going to get him out. He won't let anyone near him. He's already busted one of the rear springs in a Buick. We could put a bullet in him, but we'd probably have a hell of a time getting the carcass out of there. Or we could do like Miller says we ought to do. Tow the car out as is, with the pig still in it, drop it off for his old man to deal with. Go ahead, Chief Swardell said. Have Miller get in the horn and call for a tow. We'll let his old man take care of the pig. Sergeant Sweeney yelled over to a heavy-set cop who had his thermos out and was pouring coffee into an aluminum cup. Hey, Miller, get on the horn and call for tow. Anything else, Sweeney? Chief Swardell asked. Yeah, one thing. See them 2 kids over by the bicycle? Miller says the short one is a friend of the Kendall kid. Well, talk to him. See what he knows, Chief Swardell said, looking at Billy and Arthur. Come on, let's get out of here, Billy said, grabbing Arthur's bike and pushing it through the crowd. Sergeant Sweeney's barking voice stopped them cold. Hey, you! I want to talk to you. He was in front of them in seconds and looked directly at Billy. What do you know about this? You a friend of Frankie Kendall? Nothing, Billy said. Yeah. Well, yeah, what? Sergeant Sweeney said, resting one hand on his hip and the other on his gun butt. The maneuver was not lost on Billy. Yeah, yes, sir. I'm a friend of his. I'm not his friend, Sergeant, Arthur volunteered. I'm here because I live right over there at 6 Victoria Lane. My father is in insurance. Get lost, Sergeant Sweeney growled. Arthur, blushing a bright pink, took his bike from Billy and headed up the street. Billy stuck his hands in his pockets and followed him, head down. A heavy hand clamped onto his shoulder. Not you. I want to talk to you. Billy froze. Sergeant Sweeney spun him around and glared down at him. Meanwhile, Chief Swardell had come over. He stood next to Sergeant Sweeney and folded his arms across his chest. Both men were very tall and embodied more authority than Billy felt equipped to deal with. He said a short prayer to the Lone Ranger. Let's start over, Sergeant Sweeney said. What do you know about this? Nothing, sir. I only just got here with my friend, Billy said, pointing toward Arthur's retreating form. We were at the Little League meeting, sir. You were you? But you're Kendall's friend, ain't you? Billy nodded apprehensively. Well, how do I know you weren't in the car with him and hopped out before we got here, huh? No, sir, Billy blurted. I was at the Little League meeting at Robin Hood School. I mean the Robin Hood School, sir. You can ask anyone. You can ask Mr. Boyd, the physicals guy. I was at the Little League meeting. You can ask anyone. I was. Sergeant Sweeney squinted one eye suspiciously. Don't I know you? Ain't I seen you somewheres before? Billy said another quick prayer to the Lone Ranger, hoping Sergeant Sweeney wouldn't remember the garage fire. What's your name, kid?